Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Live Recruiting Show. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for AuburnSports.com. Today is Thursday, July the 10th. For you, it is Wednesday evening, July the 9th. For us, keep that in mind moving forward. If we slip up with any today's, tomorrow's, or yesterday's. Fantastic show for you tonight. Auburn picked up a big commitment. We're going to talk about that. We're going to answer some questions from the corner and bunker. And we're going to dish out some freaking out badges. You know what I'm saying? How about you, boys?
How about you?
This is Cole Pinkston and Sir Alan Head, by the way.
How about you, Jeffrey? How we doing tonight, man?
We're doing, big dog. We're doing.
We're in there like a hair in a biscuit, huh?
Yeah, man. You know, after this week, it's almost like we're running out of things. You know, the dead period has settled in. Commitment season's pretty much over with. Still waiting on a couple of, we talked about Adam Balogoun-Ali. We're still waiting on Jacquez Wilkes at some point. Then you get into August with Braylon Womack and some of those cats. But it's going to hit a snag over the next couple of weeks. But let's talk about Auburn's big edition on Wednesday. Was it on Wednesday?
Tuesday.
What's today?
Wednesday.
Whatever. He did. He committed Tuesday evening at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. You know what? And I made mention of this on the corner, man. Regardless of what Auburn's has going on right now, or does not have going on right now, we don't have to sell people. Even though he's a consensus, I think he's an On3 Industry 3-star ranking. On3 Industry 3-star ranker. Rivals has him as a 4, but even before that, we've been saying since April, the way that Auburn treated this cat, you could tell DJ Durkin wanted him.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's the most important thing, because we've been looking at this going, every single guy that Auburn wants is for some reason unobtainable right now. And now that narrative has been stopped. Very important.
It's extremely
muy importante.
No, I agree. It's good to see them peg a recruitment of a guy they really wanted. And let's call it what it is. Beating Kentucky and Missouri, I wouldn't call either of those elite recruiting schools, though. I will say this, that Mark Stoops recruits linebackers extremely well. Remember that Kentucky beat Auburn a couple years back when John Summerall was the linebackers coach there for an elite prospect that, ended up being a second-round NFL draft pick. So it's not the first time Tavion, is it Tavion Wallace or was it Trevin?
Trevin was the older one. Yeah.
Yeah. For Trevin Wallace. And then Eli has done a better job at Missouri than he gets credit for. Routinely has recruited inside the top 20. But again, you're not beating an Alabama or a Georgia or a Florida or somebody of that ilk. Regardless, this is a guy, and your guys' recruiting coverage will absolutely lend itself to this, is somebody that DJ Durkin prioritized from very early on. Even with guys like Jermichael Garrett still committed to Auburn, you could tell that Adam Balogoun-Ali was somebody that DJ really wanted in this class, maybe even more so than a couple of the guys they had committed. And he was a high-end target for them. Cole, let's talk about his skill set a little bit. What do you see from him on tape? What do you think is what he does well? What do you think he needs to improve on? And I'll be glad to give my thoughts. Jeffrey, obviously, we want you to.
Okay.
Yeah, he kind of reminds me of don't get me wrong, he's not – I don't think he's DeMarcus Riddick. He reminds me of DeMarcus Riddick coming out of high school because it was hard to project DeMarcus Riddick. He kind of played everywhere, and he didn't know what he's doing all the time and a little timid at times. But, boy, is that not the way he is at all in college. I see a lot of that from Adam, from Goon, and I like his skill set. Obviously, DJ Durkin likes him, and I noticed he said he was going to be a will to Chad Simmons. I think in this scheme you have you have Mikes and Wills, and then you have your specialty guy who can play usually will, and then move over to your dime whenever you go to that package, which is what Eugene Asante was. And I think Adam Balogoun-Ali is that guy. I really like him as far as his talent ceiling goes. I think he's got to improve a little bit on physicality. I think he's got to improve a little bit maybe as a playmaker, just motor. I want to see some of those things pick up as a senior. But when you get him in a camp setting, you see it. It's a lot like Riddick was, you know.
I think he kind of reminds you of the two guys that you've taken there as of late, with Atkins and Bryce Diaz, and also with Riddick, right? I mean, these guys are all athletic, rangy, can give you something in blitz package where, if you watch his highlight reel, he absolutely times it up extremely well. Athletic enough to play sideline to sideline. And the thing to me that's pivotal, and you talk about this in their sub packages when he's in that dime or at that dime backer position, he can get into coverage, man. He's not he is able to drop in coverage and be able to pick up a tight end, running back, slot wide receiver, sometimes can even be featured kind of in that nickel position, right? Like if you wanted to put 3 linebackers on the field, he shows enough athleticism that he's not going to get absolutely roasted if you've got him lined up over the slot, contingent on what you're asking him to do. So it's a value pickup from a scheme standpoint to me because he fits absolutely what you're trying to do. And while he may not necessarily be what the recruiting services see as elite, I think how he projects him with this system, he's a multi-year starter in DJ Durkin's scheme and somebody that's going to go along the lines of, more Auburn undersized type linebackers, but guys that have been productive over time. Maybe he's an NFL guy, maybe he's not. But I think he's somebody that's definitely going to be a starter at the Power 4 level and somebody that's going to be a contributor for this football team before it's all said and done.
And you don't have to rush him because you got Xavier Atkins is going to be there for a minute. You've got Bryce Diaz plays that similar role. So there's a couple of guys there where you can sort of work him in, get him accustomed to the next level, which I think there's going to be, a transition period like that. It's going to be a minute before he's probably ready. Gets that physicality going, but that's a good thing. It's good for your roster where it's at. Number one, number two, it's good for his skill set to develop right now. I think his rating is pretty fair. Like some think he's a 4, some think he's a 3. I think that's pretty good.
I completely agree. And my point earlier was this: is like Auburn's, bombing right now on the recruiting trail. There's no secret about that. When you pick up a kid like this, I'm not painting sunshine and rainbows, man, for this kid, because we already have been. Like, I don't care what his ranking is. We've been telling you since April that DJ Durkin held this kid's hand. He had Jaquez Wilkes in one hand and Adam Balogoun-Ali in the other hand. And every time that kid came to campus, DJ Durkin was locked onto him at the hip. That's all I needed to know. I don't give a damn what he's ranked.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
So when people are like, oh, you're trying to make shit, man, I'm just telling you, if you think you know more than DJ Durkin, then yes, go ahead and complain. You don't.
Let me ask y'all a question. Is it fair to say DJ Durkin does his own evaluations and he takes the guys he wants?
I think DJ Durkin just does his thing. And he maybe consults with other people, maybe he doesn't. I think he's got his idea of how he wants it to look, and he's going to go try to achieve it. And for whatever reason, that seems to be where Auburn's investing right now.
Right. I mean, the guys, and I thought Chad Simmons or maybe it was Steve Wiltfong had an article on Wednesday, talking about, and we've been talking about these cats too. But I think it, it validates us when a national guy says it. I think Chad and Steve both had said, like, well, Auburn's definitely a player for Braylon Womack, definitely for Jaquez Wilkes, definitely a player for Chase Matthews. And I think if you get Adam, which you did, and then you add those 3 cats right there, Wilson Sear, I moved him to 45, but that's as high as I can go.
It sounds
right
like
now.
It sounds like my inkling on Florida State was pretty good.
I think Gus is going to be big there. I think Gus's relationship with Killian is going to be big there. But I'm not ready to surrender Auburn's chances.
No.
I thought 40 might have been. I think it's 55-45. It's what I had at this past hot board. I don't see it getting any higher. I really don't. Not at least not in the interim, and not in the short term. But I liked the Goon pickup because DJ Durkin liked it.
Yeah.
AUJ24. What players on Auburn's board committed do you think have the highest upside? Well, there aren't many to choose from, but of the 8 now, who do you think have the highest upside, and do you think any could be a first-round draft pick?
No.
Maybe.
Go that far.
Are you maybe in Hezekiah?
Yes, maybe in Hezekiah. But I think Kendra White also has an immense upside depending
Completely
on what
agree.
he becomes.
I agree.
He's the one to me that's, if you're going to have a guy, and we'll talk about this later, I think, as we get closer to the season, but what would it take for Auburn to make a top 10 class? I think you have to have pegged your early evals, and a guy like Kendra White has to pop for you this senior year. He's got to
Somebody has to notice it.
Exactly. Somebody has to notice it, but he's got that kind of freak show athleticism that if his body comes around, and that's the big thing with him, right?
Sure.
He's a 6'4", 6'5", 210-pound tight end.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to need to play at 235, 240, look much more like Rivaldo Fairweather than he does right now for him to be able to contribute. Otherwise, he's, he's another Lando.
Lando Calrissian.
Landon, he didn't run like Kentrell.
Oh, Landon King.
Yeah.
He did
Lando
not
was
run.
the nickname, but yeah, Landon King.
I was thinking about Duckworth too.
Were you? Were you thinking about
Lando
Lando Calrissian? Were you over there doing Star Wars, man?
Yeah, I'm a Star
How
Wars.
about Peyton Falzone?
Yeah. I mean,
he's all upside. Everything about him is upside.
yeah, I think that's a good one too.
You would say the same for Nico Heppy. Everything. The only reason you're going after you're adding a guy like that to your class is because of the potential upside he has.
Sure.
Sure.
No, I mean, I agree. These are projects with high-end tools, but very low floors.
Yeah,
Very low floors.
for sure.
Yeah, that I think those are your two best options. Sammy Kovacs. With Goon in the boat, how many remaining from this list do y'all think we land? Jacquez Wilkes, Jace Matthews, Braylon Womack, Wilson Zier, the guys we just mentioned. So, this is a good question. Like we talk about Auburn being contenders for them, absolutely, but which ones do y'all think Auburn lands at this point? Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Which one of these four are in your mock class? No, that's not fair because your mock class is going to be who you think is going to end up. Who do you think Auburn lands?
I'm going to go Wilkes and Braylon off that list. I am not sold Jace lands at Auburn. I think he can. I think you probably got a better shot with him than you do with Wilson Zier.
Yeah. I would go the opposite of you, Alan.
Okay.
Zier's out for me.
Okay.
I go Wilkes and Matthews, and Braylon Womack's the one that I have trouble seeing Auburn land. I know what I've heard has been positive. I will say that. I
think he's got them listed from most likely to least likely, to be honest with you. And I'm looking at hot board percentages. I've got Wilkes at like 75 or 80. I've got Jace at 55. I've got Braylon at 45. I might move him to 50. And then Zier won't get that far.
I'm with you on that. With me, it boils down to relationships on Braylon. With his sister being at Auburn, with how this staff has recruited him, the fact that DJ Durkin has absolutely prioritized him. I think the money will be there for him. I think the money will. I think there are certain targets where money is not an issue. And let me go on record as saying this, and this is something that Jay Tate has said, and I agree with from the people I've talked to. It is not a money issue. It is a distribution issue. And I think they will be able to distribute that money for Braylon Womack. I think it's there for him, in my honest opinion, given the conversations that I've had. There's just something that makes me believe that he somehow ends up at Auburn in this class. And I don't think the kid's going to flip. I think wherever he commits on August 22nd is where he's going to stick. But something about Texas A&M and Ole Miss scare me on Jace.
Yeah.
With as much as Auburn has invested in their wide receiver room, do they find enough money to be able to match what A&M and Ole Miss are going to be able to make available to him? And that's the scary part. I know. Look, this staff has done a phenomenal job cultivating a relationship with him. They were on him before anybody else, and that will count for something in the end. But if I'm looking at position groups where you've already got a lot of coin invested in who you're going to have come back next year, I just don't know what's going to be available for Jace Matthews.
What's
Not saying
interesting
you can't
about it? What's interesting about it, Alan, is at one time, I mean, we were looking at maybe 4 receivers in this class.
Yeah.
I think that number's gone down to 2. Maybe 2. And if that's the case, does that make a bigger investment for Jace?
Hell, Cole, it may be down to 1. I'm going to be honest with you.
Could be.
I think you get Jace Matthews. You go all out for him.
Yeah.
And then you see where things stand late with Deshaun Spencer. You got enough to throw at him?
Yeah.
And no big deal if you don't. Number one priority for that wide receiver room is to keep the wide receivers in that room.
It is. It is.
So if you go out and you sign 3 5-star guys, you're probably going to have some defections in the.
I think it would be a huge win if you ended up getting Deshaun Spencer. I think that would be great.
I'm with you. Look, I think that kid is Wes Welker waiting to happen. I honestly do.
He's impressive, man.
He just committed to Duke.
Yes.
I think Duke got a steal right now as it stands today. I will say this on Braylon Womack, Alan. Do you remember what the point I was making a couple shows back where Auburn has been in it with a lot of 5-star DBs and then for whatever reason,
yeah.
Well, is the curse broken with Jacoby Matthews?
No.
Okay. Well, I was just trying to help out with the Braylon.
I know you were. I know you were. If this were a high school recruitment and you had landed that kid, yes, absolutely curse broken on that one. But because he's such, this is a rebound situation for him. And it's not saying that Auburn's not getting a phenomenal player once he gets back into football shape, but it's different. He's bouncing back from a JUCO. He's made some mistakes. This is more Trey Matthews-ish to me than it is, landing an elite defensive back out of high school.
Yeah.
Okay. Holden Appert. How many flips would we need to reach the top 15 or top 10 when the 2026 cycle comes to a close? Well, the only thing really here is the model is the Florida, and I think they flipped 14 or 15.
Yeah. And how many of those were blue chips?
A lot of that depends on what you do right now. Back to the other question. Can you get Braylon Womack? Can you get Jace Matthews? Can you get Zierer? If you can get all 4 of those guys or 3 of those guys, 3 out of the 4, then you're in a better spot.
Yeah, you may not have to flip 15 if you can get the Braylon Womack, if you can get the Jacquez Wilkes, if you can get Jace Matthews. Now you're looking at maybe 10 to 11.
I'm thinking like 8, 9, even down to that.
So
just depending on, like you said, does Control White end up a 4-star? Hell, what happens at defensive line? I mean, great day in the morning. Defensive line is just it's the biggest.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jeffrey. Go ahead.
Well, it's the biggest need across the country. So if you're not paying, dude, I mean, I've said this many, many times, dude. Auburn can't even get hats on the table. Can't even buy a spot on the table for a hat.
No, I'm with you. I'm interested to see how they're going to attack defensive line and offensive tackle. Those are the 2 problem areas for me right now with where most of my concern is for this recruiting class, because I can kind of see how they're going to lay out the rest of it. I've kind of got a picture of what I think they're going to do at each position, minus cornerback. Cornerback also puzzles me. That's one I cannot figure out what they're doing at all. But
that was the case before all this rev share went into effect too, by the way.
Yeah. I don't know on that one, but offensive tackle, defensive line, man, I'm lost. Like edge, keep Hezekiah at this point. Just keep Hezekiah in this class. Jacquez Wilkes can also give you some snaps there if you need to. You've recruited that position well. Okay, you're okay if you only land 1 guy in this class. It's not ideal, but you're okay. Defensive line, man, Jesus Christ, and let me say this: it's not Von Trail. Like, I know Von Trail can recruit.
No, that's the narrative that I have a hard time buying. You can't get me to buy that one, where you look at a certain position coach and go, well, they can't recruit. No, I mean, I have proof that they can. That's what puzzles me the most about everything going on right now. And I think even them, they're probably sitting there scratching their head. Like, it's almost like when it gets to a certain money or number, Auburn goes, and we're out.
Yep.
Next.
I think it's like, hey man, let's keep this going and let's see what we can do later. But we can't do that right now.
Or
we're out.
I say number or a demand or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Let's don't be too specific because that ain't the only thing people are wanting.
No, it's not. It's not.
Z Money's NC, a Western North Carolina fella here. Who's your surprise player that we'll look back on and say, man, he was a steal?
It will be Deshaun Spencer for me if they decide to take him. If they decide if they wanted to try to flip him, yes, he's the steal to me in this class of the guys I've evaluated at this point. Now, there's other people I need to look at, but he's one to me that sticks out like a sore thumb right now.
Yeah, I think Caleb Morris is the other one.
Oh, yes.
In-state defensive line. You're asking
like
about
him, do you?
Gosh, yeah. Love him.
Both of us do, yes.
I think he's the real deal. I've talked to people at Auburn too, and they seem to love him. So I think he's committed to Mississippi State, but I expect him to be a big target going forward. I'd be surprised if not.
I'm a big fan of Kentrell White, to be honest with you.
I am too.
Let's see. The Big Blue AU, what's more likely? Auburn has a top 10 class or Auburn wins 9 games in the regular season? I think they might go hand in hand.
Nah, 9 games.
I'm with Cole on this. It's 9 games.
You don't think Auburn goes top 10 if they went 9-3?
No, I don't think so. I can't foresee it the way things are going right now.
If you expand that top 15, yes, I can see Auburn creeping into the top 15.
Sure.
But what I think is most likely, given how – because this is my thought, all right? Yes, retention is high on this staff, and it's high with other schools too. But I think with how Auburn has to retain guys because of maybe what they've promised in past years and without having to reduce contracts, I think they may have to eat it a little bit more than some other teams. I think teams like Alabama and Georgia have gotten discounts where Auburn has not. Let me put it like that. And so I think some of the current players on their roster are going to cost a little bit more to keep them. All that said, I think the theory Jay laid out on our call-in show the other night is exactly how this is going to shake out. I think they are going to say, hey, these are 5 or 6 guys we can't live without. Yeah. And I'm getting those 5 or 6. We're doing what we've got to do financially to get those 5 or 6, and we'll fill everything else in with, blue collar or projects. You know what I mean? That we're going to take high school wise and then we'll augment in the portal. But we're going to find those 5 to 6 we can't live without in this class, and damn it, we're going to get those. And I don't think that that's going to lend itself to Auburn landing a top 10 class this year. That's just where my mind is now. Maybe that changes. Maybe they go on a streak like Florida, and they're keeping dudes.
If that's the case, you see it pound for pound being strong.
Yes.
Right? I think if Auburn wins 9 games, Hugh Freeze is absolutely determined to do whatever it takes to get top 10. I think he will. Got to win 9 games.
Well put, Jeffrey, because I'm not thinking about Hugh's pride and all of this. Because
he's been too public.
Yeah, you're right.
Too vocal about 3 top 10 classes. Dude will do whatever it takes, given the resources are there for him. Yeah. Yes. And the resources will be there for him if he wins 9 games. If he wins 9 games. If he wins 9 games, the resources are going to be there, and he will absolutely figure out a way to have a top 10 class.
And I cannot foresee it yet, but I just know I have a pretty strong feeling that the way things are as of today, it's going to be a totally different picture when we get into end of the season, closer to signing day. And we'll be looking back on this and going, man, can you believe it was like that? It's changed. Yep. It's changed so much in 2-3 months. I think it'll be that way.
Well, don't forget, Auburn had the number 1 class in 2026. They went from 1 I think it was when they picked up. I can't remember who it was.
It was that big cat last year.
Oh yeah, but they just ripped them off because you had Jermichael Garrett and Hezekiah Harris and
Shadarius.
Tootle, yeah.
They were the number one ranked class in the country.
And they didn't have Devin Carter at the time.
No.
They had somebody else.
Devin didn't come till January.
Wayne Henry.
4, and then it was 6, and then it was 9, and then it was 14, and then it was 39, and then it was 64, and then it was like 2,500.
Yeah, I mean, literally they were like 82 until they.
Yeah, it was 84 the last time I checked, and I think they're up to like 70 something now. On three team rankings, Auburn is. Oh, see, I can just pull up commitment. Oh, it must be on Cole's Wi-Fi.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Don't do that. For God's sake.
Auburn's still not on the first page, which is 1 through 50. Let's see. Auburn is at 71.
Yes.
Just short of Miami of Ohio, UNLV, Memphis, Cincinnati, and Wake Forest.
Powerhouses.
Yeah.
App State's moved up to 63, man. Auburn got a long way.
Those are big-time programs, actually.
Dowell Loggins doing business over there at App State, huh?
Sac State is right around there, too, Zach says.
Well, Sac State, by the way, just pulled Xavier McDonald, 4-star wide receiver out of Mississippi over Ole Miss.
You know who the DPP is at Sac State?
I do not.
Ryan Bartow.
How about that?
Really?
Former Rivals.com Clemson guy. One of my buddies. He was at Florida State with Norval. Now he's at Sac State. Got Xavier McDonald in. Good for Ryan. Good dude.
Nice.
Good for him.
Bruce Pearl. Appreciate you watching the show, big dog. Hey.
Let me know how your senatorial campaign's going there, sir.
Yeah, for sure.
Which position should have more funds allocated to it for the 2026 class? Cornerback or safety? Neither. Offensive line.
I mean, both positions are not in bad shape for the future.
Mm-mm.
I would. Does it depend on what happens with Eric Winters?
Maybe.
Like, does Eric become a linebacker?
Maybe.
Does that change things? Because that cornerback room is pretty stacked.
Does Eric slide down to linebacker and Jock Wilkes slide down the edge?
And that's kind of what I think eventually will happen.
I think it's got to be safety on this, just for the specific 26 class. Since the safety you're after is Braylon Womack,
Me too.
You go for that. Go all in.
Well,
you don't have a stud corner that you're just like, oh, I wish we had the money for him.
Corners are. You can find a corner out there.
Corners are dime a dozen, man.
Yeah.
But and Braylon, I would invest my money in him. I mean, you need a big win.
Well, and he's versatile. Like, he could play star.
That's exactly right.
He can play either safety spot.
Absolutely.
Like, you can use him in a lot of different ways in the back end. So that's a value pickup. I mean, hell, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'd spend the money on Jira. I would.
Yeah, or Jira.
Oh, there you go. Hey, yes, sir.
I believe
count me in.
They both have that dog in them.
Yes.
Count me in. You put together those two safeties on the heels of Anquan Fagans and Eric Winters, at least on paper.
Yeah, sure.
Talk to me, big dog. Outwork everybody every time. Don't tell me what to do, first of all. Do you think focusing on roster retention, smaller high school classes, 10 to 15, and the portal, more experience, may be the best option going forward in this new landscape?
No.
Me neither.
In the new landscape, I get it. No. In July, is it better? I don't know. It's. I got to thinking about with the transfer portal being the way that it's going to be now. Alan, correct me if I'm wrong. You have to now pay whatever they want or whatever they're demanding, asking, and the buyout from the school they were, for the rev share portion at least, they were using on that guy.
As things are presently constructed today, yes. Now, we are one court case away from all of that changing. So stand by on that front. I have questions as to whether or not House is going to hold up. But as of today, yes, Buyouts will be included for prospects that are interested
I
in
love
joining
it.
the sport, contending that their deal is not expiring, right? Because if the deal is expiring, you don't have to pay anything for that person. So where I think you're going to see a lot now is, and I believe Justin hit on this, multi-year deals. You're going to see a lot of kids get signed on 2-year contracts,
Yeah.
maybe 3-year contracts if you can figure out a way to get it done. I think most kids will employ an agent or an uncle that'll be smart enough to stay away from that if at all possible. But multi-year contracts where you can get guys locked in so that you can recoup some of that money that you're otherwise just have paid out to develop a kid for a year only to watch him go someplace else for a bigger bag.
It opens the door for so many things. And if it's a 2-year thing, it's a little different. But I mean, I could see a guy going, well, I'm getting paid from this school. Let me jump somewhere else, still get paid from this school.
Yep.
Or,
But if that holds true, yes, I think you're going to have to develop even more. I mean, put more resources into high school recruiting because portal recruiting will become that much more expensive.
Then it already is.
If that's the case, I was thinking, and this is to this question, the schools that are not playing it the way Auburn's playing it right now, they're more aggressive. Are going, if we can just get them in, we got them on contract.
Yeah.
And then transferring is very difficult now, or a lot more difficult.
More so. And then I still am of the belief, and Jeffrey, you talk to these kids far more than I do, so I want your opinion. But I think a lot of these kids don't want to transfer. They get someplace, they get settled, they make friends, they get girlfriends. You know what I mean? They get comfortable in their routine. And realistically, until they either they truly get an offer that they just can't turn down, or two,
it's always the parents. Go ahead.
Yes. Or two, they're just not playing. And then they're like, all right, you know what I mean?
There are 2 reasons people transfer: money and I should be playing. Why aren't they playing me?
Right.
I'm going elsewhere. I need to be playing.
It's when we talk to parents, man, they always say the same thing. They say, we're looking to, it's not. I've talked to several this year that were like, the transfer thing, that ain't for us. And then it will be.
Besides Walker White, I'm trying to think of what transfer from Auburn did Auburn lose that was making any significant contribution? It was all, I want to play more. You're not playing me.
Maybe Braden Joyner. I mean, he wasn't going to
He was a 2-deep guy.
Yeah, Braden Joyner and Colton Hood are the only 2 that come to mind beyond Walker White, where I'm kind of like.
And where did they go? Colorado and Purdue, and I think Colton's already transferring from Colorado. Is that right?
Yeah.
He got back to the SEC in Tennessee.
See, that's what happens when people leave because they're not getting enough playing time. They go somewhere and they still don't get enough playing time, and before you know it, they've transferred 3 freaking times, and now they're down here at Lost State Technical Institute.
Yeah.
For their 7th year of eligibility.
I could say more about Colton's situation, but I'll hold my tongue. I don't want to get in trouble on that.
Yeah.
Aces full. 1, not to be confused with Aces full 2. Who is your favorite prospect in the class? One that's committed and one that's not committed.
Okay. Ooh.
Favorite? I think he's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go by film here, more so than just talking to him.
So, okay, not committed for me is Braylon Womack. I absolutely love that kid. I love his football IQ. I love the interview he gave to you guys.
×2.
He's the guy. Committed. Give me Peyton Falzone because I really like the tools. I like the kid.
I like it. I would go with Peyton Falzone as well for committed. For non-committed, I think it's Tank Jones.
He's a good one.
I'm a big fan of him, man. I think he's a baller.
I'll be different. Go Gyra. I love Gyra.
I love Gyra.
Both on the field and off the field, just like I do Braylon. I love both of those kids. I will pull for them wherever they go.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Jace Matthews as well. I really like I like his demeanor. He's got that business thing going on where I can look at him and talk to him and go, you're going to be successful. I just can tell. Whether it's in college football or not, you're going to be successful.
R4. Any idea of class size? What priority needs to be filled to salvage the class? I put my estimates on the hot board each week. Each position, what I think Auburn's going to do. I think it's going to be a pretty small class, at least right now. But you don't know what happens, man. You don't. Right now you're looking at one quarterback, you're looking at one running back, you're looking at 1 to 2 wide receivers, you're looking at maybe 3 to 4 offensive linemen, you're looking at 1 tight end, you're looking at 3 to 4 defensive linemen, 1 to 2 edges, 2 safeties, maybe 2 to 3 cornerbacks, 2 to 3 linebackers.
Yeah, I mean, those numbers sound right for what it would take. Where does Auburn actually get? Like, that can be salvageable. I think probably, 4 to 5 on the offensive line is if the money's there. Defensive line 2 to 3. Edge 1 to 2. Corner 1 to 2.
Are you counting the 5 technique in the 2 to 3 defensive linemen?
Yes.
Okay. Me too. I always do.
1 to 2 edge. Linebacker, I think, is going to be big. I honestly believe they're going to take 3 to 4 on linebacker.
And I think I do too. I think that's what I've got.
They signed 26 last year.
Yep.
That's if you're counting Eric Smith in there.
You should.
And is it 20? Let's say 23. You think that
is 3 to 4 linebackers?
If Auburn were to assign 23 in this class, or if I'm guessing, is that outlandish? Like, no way, no chance for 23.
I never say no chance because I don't know how quickly things are going to change. Like, once we get on the other side of August the 1st, and either John Cohen is proven right or John Cohen is proven wrong, and Auburn decides to amend what they're going to do.
How will you know if he is? Will you see decommitments?
That's what I was wondering too.
I don't know. I don't think it's going to be anything immediate. I think anybody that's expecting August the 1st to be this like July 4th explosion is not necessarily reading the room for what it is.
Well, most people will see it that way, Alan, and they'll go, well, he was wrong. Can't believe he said it. That's how it'll be for most of them.
No way bunker people and corner people overreact. No way.
So let me lay this out for those people, how this is probably going to play. August the 1st is going to come, and Auburn's coaching staff is likely, their top targets, they're going to call them and say, hey, did you receive your official rev share offer? And is it everything that you were promised? Because this is what we were still offering you, and this is what we're prepared to do for you. And my guess is what that does is that opens the dialogue for Auburn to continue to make its move towards a flip for that prospect that they're absolutely bound to determine to get. So I wouldn't expect anything on, like, a lot of these kids are going to get contracts. They're going to say, hey, this isn't exactly what we agreed to. And there's going to be some back and forth, right? There's not going to be an immediate decommitment, not unless you're talking about something that's overly emotional.
Right.
And if you have certain parents that are negotiating this on your behalf, maybe you don't even know.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not even really all that involved. But this is a jump-off point for Auburn in negotiations to say, okay, where is this? Where do you stand now? Where do we stand now? And if Auburn is completely wrong here, right, this gives them an opportunity to get back, regroup, and figure out how they're going to attack this and start trying to challenge it like everybody else. Or John Cohen was right, and they're going to have an opportunity, a leg to stand on, and this will be the pivot point for them to start their transition to flipping some of these kids. Because, again, Jeffrey, you've talked about it. It's going to be October before you see the fruits of that labor. Nobody is flipping into Auburn's class without knowing what the status of Hugh Freeze is going to be long term.
Yeah.
They need to see some change of play on the field. It can't be another 5 and 7 year, and you're expecting 20 kids to flip. It's just not going to happen.
Justin and I were talking about this Tuesday, I believe. And it's not that it's not that John Cohen said August 1st. It's not that Hugh Freeze said he believes in a top 10 class. It's the way they said it. They both were really confident about those things. They both exuded confidence when they said those things. I wouldn't call it arrogance, but it's almost like, well, we know what's going on and we kind of know something you don't know.
Sure.
Is the way I read it, especially when watching and seeing them say these things. What do they know that I don't know? It's driving me crazy. How are they so confident in that?
Well, and I think if you've seen some of Ross Dellinger's reporting the last couple of days and what Pete Nakos put out today, it kind of taps into the vein of what John Cohen was trying to say. So there's some legitimacy to what Cohen is saying.
No, you're right.
The question is, have people circumnavigated the rules in a way that they'll be able to get around it? Did they front load enough deals that ended in July that allow them now to sink their entire rev share into a recruiting class? I don't know. I think we're going to find a lot of that out on August 1st when official deals can be extended, and Auburn will know better where they stand at that point. But I'm not one of these people that is going to bash John Cohen if he's not completely right, because I think there's some legitimacy to where he's coming from. Would I maybe have attacked it a little bit differently? Probably, just because I see what your competition's out there doing.
Yeah.
But I understand where he's coming from. And I think from a legal standpoint, he's solid in his footing. But maybe that's just not what gets done in the recruiting landscape right now.
Yeah, we'll see.
Egg 85. If you had to give a percentage of blame for the poor recruiting results, how would you split it up? Money, the approach with the money, booster unwillingness, or Auburn's subpar for performance percentage. Break it up. Rev share NIL approach, booster unwillingness, Auburn's subpar performance.
It's all layered, except for the booster unwillingness part. I feel like the boosters have done what they were supposed to do for the most part.
Yeah. I think they're involved.
Yeah. Is everything exactly as it should be probably right now? Probably not. I'm speculating on that part, but
there's common sense here too. I mean, it's part of it is do you want to sink your money into if there is uncertainty around Hugh Freeze being there? And there is, because Auburn's could be 6-6 again, or 6-7 and whatever, and they fire him. There's probably some hesitancy there. I think that's just common sense. That has nothing to do with anything going on.
You look like you're doing some calculus in your brain there. What you
got?
Going
I was. I was trying to say, why is Auburn not able to get a hat on the table?
Right.
All right. What percentage of that failure goes to the NIL approach? A large majority.
Yeah.
Large majority. You can't even get a hat on the table. That's not Auburn. That's not. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I think it's definitely. Don't y'all feel like it's definitely not number 3?
Correct.
Like that's going to happen.
Well, here's why I say that, Cole. Is because if the rev share NIL approach was the same as others, I don't think Auburn is in the position it's in now. I don't think they're top 10, but they damn sure are top 50. Like, they're going to get some guys that they haven't gotten. They would have gotten some guys that they couldn't even get a hat on the table for.
To your point, I think when we discussed this, none of us thought that Auburn was going to do like lights out in recruiting this early cycle.
Nope.
I think we all thought Auburn would be in the high 30s, low 40s.
Sure.
And then be able to make their move as you get closer to the season. In the 80s, I'll be honest with you, man. Great decade, but I didn't expect Auburn to be there in recruiting.
I mean,
go ahead, Cole.
You get Braylon Womack, you get Jace Matthews, you get Wilkes. You're going to be a lot closer. You're going to be closer to that 30 range.
Let me tell you something. Those 3 right there alone, I don't know, but you're not complaining coming off of a
No.
5-7 season with those 3 cats and the ones that you already have. You add those 3 before the season, you got some damn momentum.
Yeah, that's the shot in the arm you need going into the Baylor game.
Cole, let me ask you this too, because Parks is somebody we haven't talked about. Is Auburn alive at all in that?
Good question.
Ohio State?
Well, if Auburn is falling out of it for Wilson Zero, I would say yes, Auburn is alive with Deron Parks because
does it depend on what Ohio State does?
Absolutely. I think Ohio State's the one. Kentucky's in there. Kentucky flipped Denarius Gray. I said this on our other show, and I just don't care anymore. I know that there's like this long-term NIL deal out there that everybody's going to have, I guess, on August 1st. But these camps, I call them camps. I don't just say the kid because it ain't just the kid. It's the kid and his parents and his coach and whoever's all involved in everything. I call that the camp. These camps are looking at it and going, well, what can you do for me now?
Yeah.
I'm just not going to shy away from saying that anymore. It's just the truth. And I think that's where Auburn's lacking. The what can you do for me now part. They're going, well, we're going to handle it. And for that reason, not just me, but our sources, they don't have any confidence in landing the guys because of that part.
There's just so many, as Alan likes to say, layers of this. I mean, you've got kids out there that want a number, and that's one thing. Then you've got their handler that wants a piece of the pie too.
Yeah.
And look, throw in a car for Meemaw.
And man, doesn't that just sound so good for, those like 4 a.m. workouts? Like, isn't there just so much incentive for you to go make every single one of those and do everything you're supposed to do when you're making all this money? And that just, I love what we got going here. Just love it.
It's awesome.
Well, it depends on how you structure the contract. But if I'm the one structuring the contract, I'm treating you like an NFL player, man. You don't show up for workouts, that's coming out of your check. You don't show up to class, that's coming out of your check.
Fine them.
You know what I mean? You're late for practice, coming out of your check. Because we're moved past the point, right, of where the coach had so much power. This is more an NFL model now.
Yep.
But I tell you what NFL players respond to when you start taking money out of their paycheck.
Yeah.
They respond to that.
You're not late to meetings anymore. You're not late to the workouts.
Of course, it's probably harder to get traded in the NFL than it is to hit the portal in college.
Sure.
Maybe it will be.
That may be changing. That may be changing.
Maybe.
All right, fellas, let's get some how about yous in before we get out of here. Fantastic show, by the way. Fantastic questions, folks. Really good stuff tonight. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6.
I got 3.
And I'd like to share with you. How about you to Harvey Specter?
Mm-hmm.
How about you to Turner Walker?
Always
How about
great.
you to TMH34?
Always great.
How about you to Brian 9451? How about you, old Tater for AU? And my biggest how about you of the week goes to JL Eagle 07. All of these cats were very active and very informative to me on my request on a Kubota tractor or a John Deere tractor. They were all very insightful, gave me a lot of recommendations, suggestions, personal experiences. And I will be announcing my commitment on Sunday night on the call-in show to either John Deere or to Kubota.
Ooh. This is a decision. Yeah.
They'll be announcing my commitment on Sunday at the call-in show. Don't miss it.
I wouldn't. This is LeBron James, the decision-esque. Look at that flex.
What you got, Cole?
I lied. It's 4. Danny Pitts. Danny Pitts had a good week. Jeremy Redding deserves more how about yous for me than I've been giving him. So give him 1 for sure. I need to catch up on him. He's been fantastic.
Okay.
Morgan JT. Morgan JT, I found out we live pretty close to each other.
How about you, big dog?
How about you? And then Jake G. Evans, who is working tirelessly to help me with my internet.
I like it.
Jake
Oh,
G.
Jake from Internet Farm.
What are you wearing, Jake?
Oh, yeah.
He sounds hideous.
How about you, Alan?
Okay, so we're going to go with Mab Ryder, who in my I posted over on the bunker. I put a solicitation for questions. His question was, what is more fictional, Wonderland or August 1st?
That's a fair question.
I also have the Big Blue AU. And one for old Jeffrey Lee, who in Auburn Panic 40s thread said, what the F does Rich McGlynn have to do with it? I literally lost it.
Special counsel to the president. Damn you, Rich McGlynn.
Yeah. Damn you.
Oh, boy.
Forget the guy who's actually, the associate athletic director that's actually in charge of rev share, right? They have a whole department just geared towards it. You could have launched on any one of those guys.
This is going to happen more until we get some answers. Everybody's catching strays.
Everybody. But I tell you what, I know Rich, and I'd stick up for him, but I know what happened for the last 15 years, and I know what that man has done for this athletics department. I know what he's done for this football team behind closed doors.
Yes.
And as I said today, he was absolute MVP of that 2010 season. Without him, Auburn is not hanging a banner.
Hey, let's take it one step further. What about what he did for the basketball team during that whole FBI?
He was so good to Auburn University athletics. And people are just, I don't know why, but that's what I told him. I was like, man, anytime I see somebody talk down about Rich McGlynn, I don't know. I know that they don't know what they're talking about. They might think they do. Somebody might have told them that. They're trying to make him the scapegoat. Rich McGlynn's fantastic. He always has been for Auburn athletics. And I'm not surprised at all that I think he's a special assistant to the president or something. Chief operating off. I don't know what he is. He's a very important person to Auburn University now.
Isn't he chief of staff to the president? Isn't that what
Maybe,
it is?
Yeah.
Now?
Let's see, Rich.
Because he was the deputy athletic director. And I think
he's the chief of staff in the office of the president.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought he moved into that position.
So how about you, Rich McGlynn? By George.
I like it.
How about you, Rich McGlynn?
I've noticed a trend, Jeffrey. People don't think they're right. When they're wrong, they know it.
Oh, for sure.
And then they're still wrong.
Also, Rich was very good with reporters and stuff, talking to them off the record, helping them understand some of the things that were going on. He was just very. I'm a big fan. I'm always stick up for Rich.
Anybody that offers transparency into a decision.
Yes.
Right. Like, don't explain too much, because sometimes I think, as the old political term is, when you're explaining too much, you're losing. But
absolutely,
yeah,
I think Rich would provide transparency to you guys and give you just enough to say, okay, guys, this is what's really going on.
Right.
I'm not explaining
you to understand. Right.
Exactly.
I want you to understand what's really going on. And he was fantastic at that. So how about you, Rich McGlynn, Chief of Staff of the Office of the President? Well earned. Big dog. All right, that's going to do it, folks. We will be back Sunday night for our unveiling of the new call-in show.
Yes.
We'll have an unveiling of the new call-in show. If you're not aware, we have made the transition to auburnsports.com. This will be our last Auburn Live recruiting show. We're going to probably keep it consistent with the call-in show title. So next week we'll be having a new name. Nothing's changing but the name of the recruiting show. Everything's going fantastic. If you haven't joined auburnsports.com, go check it out, man. Loaded with content, awesome communities, fantastic. It's the best of every world for Auburn fans. go check it out at auburnsports.com. All right, that's going to do it for us, folks. Look for us back Sunday. We'll be there ready to go with Kevin from Wilmer, man. Appreciate everybody watching. Appreciate everybody listening, man. For Cole, for Alan, for Zach in the back, who stayed in the back, I'm Jeffrey Lee, man. Y'all stay at that left lane. See you.